You should not obsess with photography gear. I say this and I'll keep saying this on my channel. There comes a point where you don't need newer and better. Instead, you should focus on learning, on getting out there and making photos and growing creatively as a photographer. Most technology in digital cameras kind of already peaked a while ago. You can make amazing photos with a digital SLR that's like over 10 years old. You can do without most of the modern features, but, and there is a but, there are 3 features in modern digital cameras which I believe are game changers and do matter. The one which I think is most important may surprise many of you. It's almost kind of embarrassing that I think that this is the most important feature, but you'll definitely understand why. So watch until the end. Why should you care about this video? Well, if you're on the hunt for a new camera, then you want it to be great at these 3 features. Or it might be that after watching this video, you'll realize that your camera is already up to par and you don't have to spend the money on another thing that will not improve your photography. Oh, and my regular viewers, you might be wondering, well, where is this guy? This isn't my usual backdrop, this studio-like polished setup. I have a new friend to thank for this. A follower of this channel and an awesome YouTuber from Brazil kindly invited me and my family to stay at his place. With this nice little setup that he has, I thought it'd be a shame not to shoot something here. I'll drop a link to his channel in the description for any of you Portuguese speakers out there. So, the first modern digital camera feature that, in my opinion, actually matters. It kept improving through the years and then kind of peaked around 2015, and these days it is basically a must in any serious modern digital cameras. I'm talking about great performance at high ISO. This means low noise or more organic looking grain, like what you're seeing now, even at ISO settings above 3200. Before the great leap in sensor sensitivity, being able to shoot above ISO 1600 used to be a big deal. I remember having my older Canons, and with the 5D Mark 1, 2, 3, with every model it seemed like the high ISO performance got a little better. And so I went from carrying a flash and a foldable softbox and asking my wife to help out by holding this setup off camera to images like these. Suddenly I was able to shoot in really dark places, sometimes under nothing more than candlelight. Incredible. Game-changing. Then I believe the Sony a7 II took things to where nobody even imagined before, when they released that video that was illuminated only with the moonlight. Then all the newer Sony cameras started to have this tech. I shot some video scenes that were illuminated only by the light from the full moon myself. Pretty mind-blowing. And you can really push the ISO with many flagship full sensor cameras. APS-C cameras are not quite as powerful at higher ISO, but they still give you good results up to around ISO 6400. So still pretty impressive. Even micro 4/3 cameras with smaller sensors are quite decent, all the way up to around 3200. Honestly, the high ISO performance is not something that I ever really wished for when I started photography, because I just never even thought that something like that could be possible. But if you shoot or want to be able to shoot in low light environments regularly, it's definitely one modern camera feature that I would not want to do without these days. Hey, a quick word about something that may be very useful to you if you're interested in photography beyond the gear. It's my very own course, The Ultimate Method for Amazing Photos. If you want to master visual communication and learn how to convey a sense of atmosphere, place, and story through your photos, this is definitely something worth checking out. You can even grab a discount code in the description of this video. Okay, let's move on to the next feature that actually matters. This feature, I really wished for something like this long before it came out. I'm talking about the tilt screen, the flip out screen. And no, not because I wanted to make selfies or film myself for YouTube. I wanted to be able to make shots from challenging angles without having to lay down, stretch out, or get into some strange, awkward positions. As a documentary photographer, I wanted to have the ability to be discreet. On the streets, I didn't want to make it so clear to the world, like, hey, here I am making a photo. I've traveled to various places where people weren't crazy about photography. Or the opposite, sometimes they were so excited, so animated, that they'd start looking to the camera and striking poses as soon as they would see me taking a photo. And this immediately signals that I am taking a photo. Being able to stand somewhere and occasionally glancing at the screen like this as I'm making photos draws so much less attention, and it is just such a game changer. Even if I am photographing in more intimate settings, being able to shoot while only looking at the screen can be incredibly useful if you want to document genuine life moments. The subjects don't really have a chance to act, to pose, because they don't know exactly when it is that you're making photos. I actually got two cameras with flip screens almost at the same time. They were the Lumix GH4 and the Lumix GX7. Using them totally proved me that all of my thoughts about this kind of screen were correct. I was able to get the candid shots, the challenging angles, everything. Since then, any camera that I buy must have a screen that flips out. My preference is something like this. I think it's more compact than something like this. But anything that flips out, swivels out, or articulates is good enough. If this screen is a touch screen and you can choose your focus area by touching, even better. And this brings me to the last modern digital camera feature that I think actually matters. So every now and then I go through the archive of my photos from a while back. I've kept many of my photos that weren't keepers, just to be able to look back on my process and to learn from my mistakes. As I'm showing you some of these older images, can you guess the next modern digital camera feature that I find really useful? I mean, look at some of these. It used to be so damn hard to nail the focus. I could have had so many more keepers with a modern autofocus system. And so this is the last important and super useful feature that I'd like to mention. For me, the Lumix cameras and the touch focus system were a huge step up from setting the focus point in the viewfinder with that little joystick or with the buttons at the back of the camera. With the Lumix cameras, it was like, okay, touch quickly where I need to focus. The focus snaps onto that point and bam, you got your image. This is the one feature out of these three that still keeps being improved. I find the AI autofocus that's available in many of the modern digital cameras now just incredible. Cameras recognizing faces, human eyes, animal eyes. It's so amazing to be able to get shots like these, or to run with my subject and get a high percentage of images in focus. I think that Sony were probably the pioneers at this, but it seems that all the main brands are at least like really good at the autofocus thing now. And I just love being able to whip out the camera, to point it and to get the shot. Sometimes I don't even need to touch the screen. Like I said, the camera just recognizes to focus on the eye or the face or the moving subject, and nothing else needs to be done. You just cannot compare the modern focus systems to the focus systems back in the day. I know, old school photographers, legends used those old autofocus systems and even manual focus, so it is totally possible, but there are plenty of great photos with missed focus. And sometimes it doesn't even matter. But if you ask me, then I would much rather have a system that allows me to have a high percentage of nailing the focus than not having a system like that. And so after coming up with these three features that actually matter, I asked myself, just for fun, which one feature out of these three would I really not want to do without today? It wasn't obvious right away, but then I thought, well, the flip screen. Sure, it's a game-changing feature, but I have so many photos that I'm very happy with that I created before I ever had the flip screen. Now, the high ISO. Sure, it has allowed me to be able to shoot in many more low-light situations, but I somehow also managed without these amazing high ISO capabilities. But the autofocus. Well, this is something that could have made a huge difference for me. I showed you those images with missed focus, and I've deleted so many completely out of focus photos. Those are all missed opportunities that I will never get back. So I'm almost embarrassed to say this, but this, probably the most advanced of all of the modern camera features, is the one that I would really not like to do without. Simply because it's allowed me to take advantage of many more situations and to have so many more keepers. Now, having said all of this, regardless of what features your camera has, those features will not make you a better photographer. I've had plenty of professional success with the older cameras because I have always focused on something that is far more important than the features of the camera, on honing my visual communication skills. If you are interested in mastering visual communication, then I have 3 videos for you here on YouTube. You can start with one that's on the screen now. If you like it, then go through all 3 of them. If you want even more, then check out my course, The Ultimate Method to Amazing Photos. It is all about mastering visual communication. Thank you so much for your time. That's it for now.